I'm gonna make this video to Scott Perry. I saw you posted something last night, and I did put a comment reaction on Facebook, but I really hope this gets your attention and people that, I have some good points that you guys need to think about. You mentioned something about wanting to ban weed and somebody overdosing from marijuana, which is incredibly rare. I, first of all, wonder if they got a full spectrum toxicology report with a hair test, because a lot of times people were murdered or poisoned, and sometimes it's long-term poisoning, and all kinds of stuff doesn't show up in a regular autopsy because they don't do a hair toxicology test in a regular autopsy, only if there's suspicion of murder. And I think these days, with the CIA and the Muertes cult in China and everything else going on with the bad actors, and there's a lot of murderers. I think there should be a federal expansion on the autopsy, that it should require a hair sample test just in general. Nobody needs to be that cheap. You know, it's a serious thing. I don't think the money's the issue. I think maybe you could get a deal. Maybe you get it in bulk, you know. The thing is, there's that Edward Winter doctor guy, a coroner that works for Hollywood. He's done cases that were some of P. Diddy's, I think, victims. Like the one Brittany Murphy, they said she wasn't murdered, but then after her autopsy, and it just said, oh, she had her regular drugs in her system and all her prescription pills, a ton of prescription pills. Again, these doctors really overprescribe people with a lot of pills, okay? And if people do drugs on the side, you know, they know this. Anyway, the point is, whatever. People have to take some responsibility for themselves too. But her dad got a second autopsy, and a toxicology hair report test was done, and they test for a lot more spectrums of, you know, substances in the body, and it's longer term. And long-term poison is a method the Illuminati and the CIA and all the scumbags and witches and whack jobs and poisoners have been using. We should all be well aware of that. They found all kinds of stuff on the second autopsy that does make it look like murder. Apparently some of these things were heavy metals, and some of them were even military grade, hard to get substances, some type of weird chemicals or drugs. Not sure about the details on all of that, but you can look into it. There's validity to this report. So, you know, are these people paid to look the other way on some of these deaths and say, oh, well, there's no reasonable suspicion? I think there was plenty of suspicion in her case, and they still didn't do a full autopsy. So people might think, oh, they just died, oh, it had to be something else. So this weed overdose kid, okay, I'm in Pennsylvania. Years ago, I met a girl, her best friend died from smoking. He didn't even do heroin or opiates. He smoked weed that was laced with fentanyl. And he must have smoked a blunt of it or a good bit of it, and there must have been a good bit of fentanyl in there, and supposedly he died from an overdose of fentanyl from smoking poisoned weed that these Muertes and scumbags had been trying to force into our streets and to the youth and the young people for themselves in China, to try to just screw everything up here and destabilize the nation so they could try to snakily, cowardly, underhandedly, witchily take over. You know, Lucifer's a liar and a cheater. Those people are part of the beast system. I think you want to wonder from now on if there's a weed overdose, which is almost impossible, pretty much. And I'm not kidding. You know, if you took maybe like ounces and ounces of 3,000 X concentrate of it and gave it to like a 6-month-old baby, maybe then you could, maybe. But generally nobody dies from a weed overdose. So first of all, that sounds shady as shit to me, and I bet you that autopsy doesn't have a hair follicle test to show all the other poisons that could be in his body, and I bet you he was poisoned by something else. I bet you he was. I'd bet on it. Get a fucking hair test, people. And for parents and anybody and family members, if anyone dies and you give a shit about them, get a fucking hair test. Get a fucking hair test. And then if you find out who fucking, you know, traced those weird substances, you know, and find out who did it. And then you found a murderer and you got the evidence. But a regular autopsy isn't going to do that, and they're only going to test for stuff that's just in the blood within a certain spectrum range, but they're not going to test the full spectrum range. Just like when you get a little cheap water sample kit test for your tap water, it'll test for, X amount of things. But if you pay the $250 to a big company that tests for, instead of this many things, they test for this many things. And they'll test for all kinds of other shit. You see what I'm saying? So you might think, oh, it's not this or it's this, but you don't even know. So you can't say the person died from a weed overdose unless you have a hair test, is what I'm saying. Everybody should start. I think we're in a civilized, futuristic society here. I don't see why this isn't just part of a regular, and also a Christian. I'm a Christian, but I think out of basic respect, someone dies and you don't expect them back in 3 days. See, I expect myself back in 3 days. Jesus knows. The thing is, if you really want to know if they were murdered or not and what the real cause of death and if there was other poisons, you got to get more than a blood test. See, people don't know and they're ignorant, and it's not their fault. But people need to educate each other on this. It's, you don't have to be a genius to understand it, but you see, I see what they've been doing. Edward Winter, that coroner with all these P. Diddy possible victims that kept dying of the same ways. Brittany Murphy had a hair test done. All the other ones should have a hair test. His ex-wife, she should have a hair test done. There should be exhume the body and do a second autopsy with a real hair test, because it was very likely poisoning and murder in the same method. There's a few other people on the list of possible poison by P. Diddy and his... You see what I mean? But I'm telling you, it's very, very rare that somebody would ever die of weed. And I think you thinking to completely ban weed would be an extremist thing to do. Okay? If we're not banning abortion 100%, I think you shouldn't ban weed. And I think weed does a lot more good than bad. You talked about those companies that try to make, like, tricks, like cereal-looking weed shit. Sure, get them off the market. They should... Somehow kids get their hands on this stuff. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, well... The thing is, kids are going to want to be a naughty rebellion and they're bored and they try drugs a lot of the time anyway. It's better they do weed than heroin, meth, fentanyl, and all these pills that were in the children's hands so easily that doctors were, Adderall, Xanax, all this stuff, they were prescribing little kids. I think we still have an issue with a lot of CIA, Spanish fly, questionably doctors having some type of fetish for pilling children, because I think all these old-timey CIA goons and families and incest cults, they all work in the same ways, and I think they all kind of know what they're doing. And they all kind of do that, the kid, it's the kid's problem, he's crazy now, just because they're all crazy. So then they put it on the kid, the neurosis, and then the doctor plays along with it, and then they say, he's bad at school, he's this, he's that, put him on more drugs, put him on more drugs, put him on more drugs. And the family's okay with that, because they are basically okay with watching their children stumble and fall. They're almost like envious of their own children even these days. I see it all the time. I'm in Pennsylvania. I'm in Bucks County. There's a lot of families around here. People like to mock each other, look at each other fall, go to the bar, go to the strip club, don't get married, don't be monogamous, don't have a wife. They're all, doing what? Spinning around like chickens with their heads cut off. And it's sad, I'm in my 40s and I'm only not married because they're also non-committal and bisexual, and probably some of them have been raped and turned, with the pedophiles and the issues and the rapes. You get all these people that they turn to drugs and alcohol, or they become recluses, or they become like that Don Juan complex, where they're going out and fucking everybody and each other, and men are fucking men, and it's disgusting. And I've been celibate for a few years, to tell you the truth. I'm not fucking around because it's not worth it. It's pretty sad. It seems like a lot of people have just turned into a bunch of pigs, or cowards, or Don Juans. And it's really sad, because people do deserve better than that, I'm a person, I could be a good wife to someone, but no one recognizes my value, and they don't even recognize their own. They'd rather go out smoking crack, sucking other dudes' dicks, thinking they're cool with their gay pedo rap music. And, people forget about the wholesome virtues of sacred, love. God is love. You know, God said in the Bible to love your spouse like God. It's the only person. He said love your spouse more than your children and your parents. The other thing around here is people with this incest or gangs or Catholics or Muertes or Hibernians or whatever. Some of these people, I dated a few people, they're like, they're mother's boys, you know? And I dated one guy, his mother, I heard her say once, oh, mother's number one. And I said, oh no. Well, God said, you're a spouse, so even though we weren't married, but I said, if we were going to potentially become that way, I was already there, should be number one, and you should love your spouse like God, and more than your parents and children even. God puts a special sacredness on marriage, and he puts it equal with himself. He says your spouse and you should be like you and God. God's supposed to be the most important relationship you have in your life, and unless you're married, and then it's equal. But back to the thing about the overdoses. Like I said, I don't do drugs, I don't drink, I don't do nothing. I smoke tobacco, I drink coffee, and I smoke a little bit of weed once in a while. So I am paying attention to this. Once I smoked poison fentanyl weed in Philadelphia, and I had to sit like this and crouch in my own lap for 3 hours in front of a 7-Eleven. See, I'm getting out of work, and I stop here, but I'm in the suburbs now. But back then, I would stop at a 7-Eleven. I get my coffee there, so, like something to eat. And some black guy rolled up, smoke a blunt. I've smoked blunts with strangers in the past several times, but this guy didn't tell me there was fentanyl in it, and it was so strong that I could barely open my eyes, so I had to sit, and I was holding my phone. He goes, can I use your phone? I said, no, you'll steal it. Like, you just poisoned me with fentanyl. I was like, obviously this isn't weed, buddy. I've smoked weed for decades. Not consistently every day, but I'm well seasoned. I can handle weed. And weed doesn't get me drunk. Weed doesn't shift my vision. Weed doesn't make me talk funny. I can still read. I could drive on weed. I'm being extorted by the DMV, and they're holding a case from almost 10 years ago. Back when I drank, I got a DUI behind the Robert Morris bar, and they were supposed to expunge it, and because it was an ARD case, because I'm really not a criminal. And they did expunge it, and the police and the system expunged it, but the DMV held the information in a secret database, and they've been trying to extort me and get me to pay for a breathalyzer kit, though I'm not on probation, and that case was closed years ago. They want me to pay them money as if I was on a probation, and I'm not, and there's no court case. And they're trying to extort me, so I have to sue them apparently too. This is fucking bullshit, because I hate legalism, and I hate dealing with cops and courts and bullshit. I hate legalism, and everyone's been calling it lawfare. God calls it legalism. People have been calling it lawfare. I think they're talking about the same thing. I hate engaging with their fucking courts and shit. But what am I supposed to do? Another thing, you guys gotta look, and it was for a refusal DUI. They said if it was a regular DUI, that's their new excuse. Oh, because it wasn't a regular DUI. When it's a refusal DUI, we don't expect... The court ordered this has to be expunged. You can't... This is my intellectual property, my name. That's my property. My name is me. It's my info, and it's old information that's supposed to be expunged. Why does the DMV think they have the right to hold it in a secret database? Because, who knows, they've been doing stuff with secret databases, selling terrorists fake IDs. So maybe they think they can keep a secret database on people like me, and just try to extort me, a regular American citizen, and try to get money out of me too, like they get money out of the terrorists for their fake IDs with Costco and restaurants and all that. Anyway, I think the weed, you'd want to focus on stepping it down a little, not totally getting rid of it. A lot of stuff with drugs shows if you try to completely eliminate it, just like with prohibition and all that, people actually go crazier. And I think considering the CIA having to get rid of all these fraudsters with their stunt doubles and fake Joe Bidens and fake passports and terrorists, and you got to get rid of most of the CIA. They should be shot. You know, keep the ones that stealth bomb Venezuela. You know, you should go stealth bomb fucking Wuhan. Stealth bomb specific biolaboratory places. But unless the CIA stealth bombing, I think they should all be shot. They're traitors, they're treasonous, they're snakes. They work with China terrorists and the UN. Fake globalism. God said that, or not globalism, climate change. God said there's that climate change thing. There's no problem there. There's nothing. So it's just regular stuff I'm doing. They're totally making up a fake thing just to try to get more money and make everyone afraid and fight for a fake cause with more fake protesters. Fake protesters that can go out and protest. Woo, we want to say the government's wrong and everyone's wrong. Actually, kids, you don't even have to worry about the climate change. They're trying to block out the sun, some of them. This is all bullshit. It's all a big, hoax. I need some fucking money. I live in a camper in these lesbians' yard. Okay? I need some Doge checks. The pay in Pennsylvania, the $7.25 an hour has been the minimum wage for decades. This is slave labor. Apartment here is well above $1,000, even for the smallest apartments they have. I can't afford a car in an apartment. I was living homeless the last few years with my dogs. Nobody gives a shit. I give a shit. God gives a shit. I've been testing people too. But the weed thing, I would say that kid might have died from something else, and you should get a hair test, and it should be embedded into generally autopsies in general. Because again, you can't say, oh, they weren't murdered, they weren't poisoned by something else. Oh, they died from the what now? Oh, we gotta guess. Oh, it must have been the weed. Did you do a hair test? You see what else was in his body in a longer term, because there's a thing called long-term poison, and I'm telling you, these people have been doing it, and I think they're all smart enough to know, just like with Marilyn Monroe and all that. Now, they don't do the hair test. We won't get caught in a basic autopsy as long as they don't suspect murder. And then if they want to go pay some coroner, when there's crooked coroners all over the place, and we've heard of this too, and in Pennsylvania, heard about something about Pittsburgh and snuff pornography, and that there was coroner paid off to say a guy died of some other cause of death, but he was really killed in a organized snuff company porn. And he wanted to die, and he wanted his wife to get the money. So it was all a deal. But there's crooked coroners, you have to understand. Alright? Other issue. Yeah, CIA, go to hell. I think you guys gotta start just defunding the CIA and deal with this shit on some very strictly military level. Okay? I'm tired of fucking terrorists here. There's people here that are backstabbing trade agreements, but for the regular poor people, like, I don't go out and do crime and stuff like, oh, I have to because I'm so poor. I say, oh, well, I guess I'm just fucking poor. Right? I'm not poor in spirit, but I'm poor in money for right now. But I can tell this is a Babylon formula of bullshit going on. This all has to stop. People need to have a higher rate of pay. It would cut crime down. Maybe for the poor like me who make under $30,000 a year, you could get us. Maybe we should get some UBI or a stipend or something, or a free housing certificate. Take all the housing out of China and dirty pedo England's little fucking Berkshire Hathaway fucking illegal fucking property operations with all their property management companies with all the fucking Muertes pieces of shit. Maybe you get rid of all that and say go the fuck home and fucking usurp their fucking fake fucking deeds and assets. Some of these people are just pulling frauds. There's a lot of sick shit going on, and you gotta realize one more thing. The records keepers of City Hall, Philadelphia, they know what I'm talking about because they enter frauds into the system all the time. Because they could catch them right there at the office, but they don't do the check. It would take them 2 minutes, but they don't. They just say, oh, we'll enter in anything you bring us. So people bring in stuff that's fraud stamped from the fraud stampers, and the fraud stampers will stamp anything. And then they just bring it to City Hall and say, enter this into the registry. But it's a fraud. But nobody checks. But there's ways they could check. That should all be looked through and reintegrated and remade and have some fucking shit to catch it all when it gets entered so it doesn't get entered. I'm tired of you fucking frauds. Frauds, frauds, frauds. Fucking Hollywood, fucking CIA, fucking selfish ass, stupid ass, hooly-hoo ass people. I don't like your fucking pedophile fucking theater shows and fucking song and dance Broadway fucking pedo fucking entertainment shit. I don't like your fucking pop music. I'm not interested in watching pedophiles fucking flamer fucking skipper the fuck around on a stage and sing songs and dances to me. I don't give a fuck. I'd rather shoot you fucking pieces of shit in your fucking heads. That's what I'd rather do. I'd rather kill you than watch your little song and dance. I won't pay for it, and I never do. I don't go to your fucking concerts. I don't have a fucking television. I hate your fucking shit. It's like torture to me. I hate your shit. You losers. People, get serious, get righteous. Stop giving them money, stop giving them ratings. You know, you can defund them on the end of the customer end and not be a consumer of their disgusting pedophilic little book clubs and publications, etc., etc. Alright, now Scott, with the weed, yeah, you might want to do some things to deter young people from smoking too much weed. But I think getting rid of these fucking hard drug fucking poisoners is the bigger issue. All these fucking P. Diddy trap house fucking rings and foreigners and the CIA. The CIA was supposed to infiltrate kind of foreign nations and kind of find out what they were planning to do to terrorize us. But instead, it looked like over the years, the CIA just got buddy-buddy with all those terrorists and then said, oh, let's get something for ourselves and fuck everyone we work for in our own countries. So that's what they do. And they say, oh, we'll work for Chinese terrorists, we'll work for Mexican terrorists, we'll work for these scumbags and pedophiles and Red Shoe Club blood-drinking vampire fucking wannabe fucking losers. You know? I've had enough of all you people. Old-timey fucking niggers. You know? I'm not racist. I don't mean it like I'm not in the KKK. You're just old-timey scumbag niggers. You know? I hate you fucking niggers. God knows. Emmanuel. Beast system down, and God is tearing the beast system down and ripping it apart. So, you guys won't be here much longer, and I'm happy about that. I'm not supposed to gloat, but I'll rejoice that the Lord protects us, and He'll sanctify this earth again and let us live in a clean place that's not full of you fucking nigger fucking slime bags. Slimy, disgusting fucking traitors and infidels. Alright. No sex, no guns. Gang! Gang!